Hello again. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to a preview of our Mission English program. So, for those of you who aren't aware, every single day I meet with my group. It's a private Facebook group, and we discuss all things pronunciation in a small group class. These are the times where we meet. So you can see this is the Friday session. This is that Friday 9:30 a.m. session on the top right. We'll be meeting again in the afternoon. And basically, for a half hour, we meet and discuss topics related to pronunciation, again, as part of our Mission English program. And we just kind of wanted to show you an example of what our Mission English program is like in case you're someone who's interested in actually getting personal feedback for yourself every single day of the week with me, because we're always talking about placement, we're always talking about pitch, we're always talking about breath, and we're always talking about trying to weaken our consonant sounds and strengthen our vowel sounds. And when I say we, I mean the members of the group. I'm going to introduce one of our members who's you may be already familiar with. This is Emmanuel. What's up, Emmanuel?
Hello, I'm good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. We made it once more.
Yes.
Um, And Emmanuel, you said that today you want to take a look at some E sounds. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to take a look at this. Now, did this E sound can be really tricky. What I typically see with students and the E sound is that because the E sound exists in so many different languages, it's very easy to kind of transition back into whatever our first language E sound is, which tends to be a higher placement, which tends to be a tighter sound in the sense that there's less breath making it through the body. And we're trying to do the opposite of those two things. We're trying to lower the placement and we're trying to get more air through. So typically a first language E sound often sounds like E, 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 versus an American English E sound, which is often more like E, 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 E. Can you hear that difference in like E and E? Man, can you try doing that for me? Like E and E.
E, E, E,
Yeah.
E.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I think even on the lower one, so I could definitely hear the difference placement wise. Like that first one was really, really high, and the second was much lower. I think we could even work on trying to get even more airflow through, so it's not versus like eh. Can you say like three times with the lower place was just like eh?
E.
Yeah, I do like that more. Okay, so that's what we're going to be really paying attention to as we take a look at these words here. We're going to see that for a lot of these are one syllable words, which is cool. I'm going to add a couple words as well, which are going to be E sounds, kind of final E sounds that aren't stressed. Like, for instance, like happy, lucky, sleepy, and uh, silly. Okay, so we're going to kind of just work through these words, and then we're going to take a look at our sentences. Give me 1 sec. Maybe didn't like what I did. Okay. If you're watching this, of course, if you have questions about the E sound as we go through this, be sure to let us know. Um, Emmanuel, whenever you're ready, can you read that first line for me?
Be, need, lean, proceed, weak, indeed, jeep.
Okay. I would say a little bit, all of them I thought sounded fine, but there were a couple of words where I felt we were able to keep the sound a little bit more open in terms of the breath. And then there were a couple other sounds where I think we kind of tensed up a little bit. So I'm going to try to um, go through these again. What we're going to do is we're going to separate. We're just going to do the vowel sound and then we're going to do the word. So, for instance, Amanda, can you say for me E B?
E, B.
Can you do it a couple times for me, like E B E B E B?
E, B, 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 B.
Okay, so I'm gonna pause you there. Do you notice that when you're saying B, especially your E is reducing? It's kind of like B B B versus B B B. Do you hear that difference?
Yeah, it's reducing.
Can you try
Mm.
again for me? It's like E B E B E B.
E, B, 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 B.
Yeah, towards the end, I felt like we could start to hear the placement kind of climbing. It was like A, B, 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 B. like kind of going up. Try to see if you can keep it just a little bit more static. E B B B B B B B. Here again. Yeah, I like that a lot. I like that a lot. How's that feel?
Feels great. I really have to weaken the B. It
Yes.
was too strong.
Yes. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and this goes for everyone watching. Like, if you're saying like if you say B like 3 times, like if you're saying B B B, you don't want to say B B B. That's a really harsh, strong B sound. We're really trying to get that B to be very weak. We're trying to focus on the vowel sound. Um, let's do a similar idea with the next word. Can you say for me E need?
E need.
Yeah, again, like you can do it like 3 times. E need, E need, E need.
E need, E need, E need, E need, E need.
Sometimes I feel like it's like E need versus E need. E need, E
E
need, E need.
need, E need, E need, E need, E need.
Yeah, I do like that more. Like that a lot more. Okay, any questions on that one?
Have to hold it a bit longer, because otherwise
Uh-huh.
it's reducing.
Uh-huh. Yep. I think that's a common experience that people have. Make sure you're holding your vowels for a long enough duration. How'd our next word here? Can you say E lean?
E lean, E lean. Still.
Can you it could be the L, could be the N. I hear some shifting going on. Can you try doing for me E lean?
E lean.
Can you say Ely again? Ely, Ely, Ely.
E le, le.
Some inconsistent. Sometimes it sounds really smooth, and then sometimes it's like Ely, Ely versus Ely, Ely, Ely. Try to keep it going continuously again. Ely, Ely, Ely. That's slightly reducing it. So I'm hearing le versus Lee. Can you again? Ely. That was better. I like your E sound a lot more there. As you're watching this on the replay, what I would say is I feel like sometimes when we're going from Lee, there's like a pause. And I want you to see if you can remove the pauses. And so instead of Lee, we're Lee, just a continuous E sound that is never really E. Just keep it rolling. Can you do it one more time for me? Like Lee. Better, but I can still sometimes hear that a slight pause. So that's something I want you to listen for. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Let's add the N back in. Can you say lean? And the same idea. I want you to see if you can avoid pausing. So lean, lean. Okay. The difference between mine and yours is that what's up to Hazel? Thanks for checking this out. Difference between mine and yours is vowel length. Yours vowels are so short. It's like listen to mine. The E is like almost the only sound you hear. Can you try that again for me? Hold your vowel longer. Okay, so one of the things you're going to notice in the replay and the pattern is that your pattern was like lean. It's like the middle step with the Lee, we're shortening our vowel so much. Try to keep it the same vowel length for all three. Lean. Okay, yeah, I really want you to compare that group that you just did with those other ones that you were doing, and I think you'll immediately hear a difference in the sound quality. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions so far?
No, I'm always reducing them, especially when I say them fast, in a
Mm-hmm.
succession, and now
Mm-hmm.
it's reducing.
Yep. So remember, I mean, that's the key to again American English is make sure our vowel length, especially for our stress syllables, is long enough because we do have people do have tendency to shorten it. Okay.
Okay.
How about our next word? How would you say this word?
Proceed.
Mm-hmm. Take your placement a little lower on the C sound.
Proceed.
Better. I like that one a lot more. Can you say that like 3 times? Proceed, proceed, proceed.
Proceed. Proceed. Proceed.
I want a little crisper E. I'm hearing proceed, proceed, proceed. I want a little bit more E. Proceed, proceed, proceed.
Proceed. Proceed. Proceed.
A little too high on placement though. It's not proceed. It's more proceed, 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 proceed.
Proceed. Proceed. Proceed.
Can you say C, C, C?
C. C. C.
Yeah, that I want that C sound you just did. I want that same exact sound. So C, C, proceed.
C. C. Proceed.
Okay. Yeah, I think sometimes as you get to the D, I think sometimes you get a little high, intense. But in general, I like that one more.
Yeah.
How about our next word? Can you say weak for me?
Weak.
Can you lower placement slightly? Weak.
Weak.
Can you say that 3 times? Weak, weak, weak.
Weak. Weak. Weak.
Especially like the second one. Can you do that again? Weak, weak, weak.
Weak. Weak. Weak.
Yeah, I like the second and the third out of that group of 3 you did. Okay.
Okay.
How about our next word? Can you say indeed?
Indeed.
Placement's really high. Indeed versus indeed. You hear that difference?
Yeah. Indeed. Indeed.
Take off the final D. Can you just say indeed? Indeed.
Indeed. Indeed. Indeed.
Like the second one more. See if you can add even more breath. Indeed. Indeed.
Indeed. Indeed. Indeed.
Good. That one. That's the sound I'm looking for. What you just did. Last 2 were really good. Can you say indeed, 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 indeed?
Indeed. 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 Indeed.
The last pair. Like the last pair. Okay. And how our last word here, Jeep.
Cheap.
I'm hearing placements really high. Jeep. Jeep.
Jeep.
Lower still. Jeep.
Jeep.
Take off the P. Can you just say G for me? G.
G.
G. G. Do you hear a difference?
G. G. Is it the same?
Hang on. Can you do like E G?
E. G.
Place really high. E G. You're like up here, top of the throat. E G versus E G.
E. G.
More diaphragm. E G.
E. G.
That was your best one. Good. Do it again. E G.
E. G.
What sound does a G make? What does a J make? How do you say J?
J.
J, like that first syllable. J.
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 J. J. J. J. J. J. Like
Oh,
that?
okay, so like yeah, but when you hear we're like we're up here versus you hear that difference?
J. 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 J.
Uh-huh. I think what's happening with Jeep sometimes is I think sometimes we're using a higher placement J sound that's carrying over to the vowel. And I'd
Yeah.
like to see if we can use a lower placement J sound. So instead Jeep, versus Jeep.
J. 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 Jeep.
Smooth out so instead of doing smooth it out. Try to treat your consonant almost more like a vowel sound. So instead of more j.
J. J. J. J. J. J. J. J. J.
You're really high. I heard we're up here, Todd up here, where I'm down here. J.
J. J. J. J. J. J. J. J. J. J. J.
Jeep.
J. J. Jeep.
Hold the E longer. Jeep.
J. J. Jeep.
Sometimes like Jeep versus Jeep.
Jeep,
Jeep.
Jeep, Jeep,
Better. I like the last one better. Can you say that like 3 times? Jeep, Jeep, Jeep.
Jeep, Jeep, Jeep,
Again, Jeep, Jeep, Jeep.
Jeep, Jeep, Jeep.
Better. Okay. Questions for me on those?
Yeah, I have to make sure it's not shifting for the E sound.
Hmm.
It's not breaking it into like G up, G up. Tend to do that a lot.
Exactly. Now watching out for that. Okay. I want to take a look at final E sounds because people do tend to reduce these.
Yeah.
Can you say our first word here?
Happy,
Okay, you don't actually have to hold the last syllable that long, but I like the idea there. Can you do that again? Happy.
happy,
That was really good. Can you do that one more time for me? Happy.
happy.
Good. Yeah. Well, we don't want it to become. We want it to become like happy. It's not happy, and it's also not happy. It's happy, happy, because that second syllable is so reduced. It's so weak. It's lower in pitch. So it's like a happy. Can you say our second word for me?
Lucky,
Say again for me.
lucky,
I feel like I'm hearing le versus la. So it's your schwa sound. You want to lower placement again? La.
la,
Lucky.
lucky,
Lucky.
lucky.
You're like key. It's really closing off,
Yeah.
maybe because of the K. So it's not key. It's more K. K.
Key, key, key.
Better on the last one. Lucky.
Lucky,
I can say it like 3 times, like lucky, lucky, lucky.
lucky, lucky, lucky.
Not bad. I like the last one. Uh huh.
Okay.
Just for everyone watching too, make sure that you're not saying la la la. It's not lucky, lucky. It's lucky, lucky. It's different to your ah sound and your schwa sound. So just watch out for that. Okay. How about our next word here?
Sleepy,
Placement's
sleepy.
really high.
Yeah.
Placement's really high. Sleepy versus sleepy. Sleepy.
Sleepy, sleepy, sleepy.
Can you take off the P at the end? Can you just say slee? Can you do like slee, slee, slee?
Slay, slay, slay.
Tip of your tongue is down.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And that's what I recommend for everyone here too, is make sure you can use a higher position with your tongue. You can put your tongue on the top of your mouth like slee, slee, slee. You can do that so my tongue against my ridge. The only problem with that is that it can cause people to tense up and block breath. So it might be helpful to again keep your tongue against your bottom front too. So more like slee, slee, slee. Can you say for me, Emmanuel? Can you say slee, slee, sleepy?
Slay, slay, sleepy.
I'm hearing like slee, slee versus slee, slee.
Slay, slay,
More breath. Slee, slee.
slay, slay.
Okay, I like the E sound. Can you say so, so?
So, so,
Yeah, so. Or a little high versus so,
so,
so. Hold it like so.
so.
It's like sleepy.
Sleepy.
Placement one has like so versus sleepy.
So,
Sleepy.
sleepy, sleepy.
The last one is really good. The only thing I would change is the final E. It got reduced as like
Uh,
slippy versus sleepy.
sleepy.
Better. I really like the sleep sound. That sounded much better. I like that a lot more. Okay, questions on that?
That's a bit tricky, this one.
It is. As the SL doesn't help. It's the E sound on its own and then the final E. There's a lot of tricky parts there. And our last one. So we have a short I followed by an E. This is a tricky combination. Emmanuel, can you say it for me?
Sunny,
Lower your placement on the E. Silly.
sunny,
Lower placement on the E. Silly.
sunny,
Silly.
sunny.
You kind of go with some shifting there on that final E sound. Silly.
Sunny.
Not bad. Can you say that a few times? Like silly, silly, silly.
Sunny, sunny, sunny.
You're really reducing that final E. It's like silly, 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 versus mine is more like silly, silly, silly. Do you hear that difference?
Yeah. Silly, 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 silly.
Focus more on the vowels. Don't worry as much about the L and the S. It's like silly, silly, silly.
Silly, 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 silly.
Yeah, I like the last three you did. I like those last three a lot more. Okay.
Okay.
Questions for me on that?
Yeah, I have to hold it for the final part, otherwise gets reduced.
Yep.
The final E.
hmm Yeah, I do think that, and not just for final use, but for a lot of final syllables, I see a lot with students wanting to really reduce the final sound and shorten our vowels. When again, we want those more extended.
Yeah.
Um, I want to make sure that we have time for our sentences, but in case people are just joining us, welcome. So this is a preview of our Mission English program, which is basically a small group, private group on Facebook, where Monday through Friday we do streams of 30 minutes 2 times a day. So this is our morning stream. So typically you can see there over on the right, Friday, 9:30. That's what this stream is right now. We'll be meeting again this afternoon in the private group. And we're just trying to get some pronunciation practice in every single day. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, joining our little small group, joining me on screen and getting feedback for yourself, you can go to fluentamerican.com and sign up for Mission English program. The man was giving us some sentences. Screech. I was going to shorten these a little bit. Just give us more the E sounds. Man, whenever you're ready, can you read this sentence for me?
He heard a screech in his teeth as he bit into the frozen cheese.
Okay. Sometimes our E sounds get a little tense, right? Can you say frozen cheese?
Frozen cheese.
Can you say again? Frozen cheese.
Frozen cheese.
Okay. Can you say as he bit into the frozen cheese?
As it bit into the frozen cheese.
That was better. I like that one more. I also like what you do with pitch, like as he bit into the. I liked your movement down, bit into the frozen. Good. So that's a very typical movement. Down, 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 and then go up on your stress. Bit into the frozen cheese. Can you say again for me? Bit into the frozen cheese.
Bit into the frozen cheese.
Okay, I do think cheese does get a little tense. Just note frozen cheese versus frozen cheese. Frozen cheese.
Frozen cheese. Frozen cheese.
Okay. Can you say he heard a screech?
He heard a screech.
Hold your vowel longer and screech. That was a little too short. He heard a screech.
He heard a screech.
Really tensing as well. Screech. He heard a screech versus he heard a screech.
He heard a screech. He heard a
Better.
screech.
Yeah, don't worry too much about that CH. It's more about the E. Okay, he heard a screech.
He heard a screech.
Can you say a screech in his teeth?
A screech in his teeth.
A little sharper on the E sound on teeth. A screech in his teeth.
A screech in his teeth.
Better. I like screech a lot more. How about the whole thing? He heard a screech in his teeth as he bit into the frozen cheese.
He heard a screech in his teeth as he bit into the frozen cheese.
I like how you said cheese there much better. It didn't sound as tense as before. Before I was doing frozen cheese, versus frozen cheese. That was much softer. I like that a lot more.
Okay.
Can you read the second sentence here for me?
First 3 months for free.
Very good. That E sound that you had, especially on free, that's the E sound we're going for. That was great. Lots of breath. Placement was in a great spot. Can you say free again? Free.
Free.
Good. I think it helps that there's no consonant after the E sound there.
Yeah.
Can you say months are free?
Months are free.
Can you say 3 months are free?
3 months are free.
Good. I like this. Very open. Place was in a good spot. Can you say for me the first 3 months are free?
The first 3 months are free.
You could even, being very nitpicky, I do think you could hold the vowel on 3 just a little longer. It felt a little short to me. Can you say again for me? The first 3 months are free.
The first 3 months are free.
Okay. Yeah. Questions on that?
Yeah, I picked this sentence specifically because it has the THs and stuff, and you have like
Uh-huh.
TH confusing with an F, so I want to make sure I wasn't, swapping it.
I think if you said it the way that you did right there, I think you'll be fine. I thought that sounded pretty good.
Okay.
Um, check out the S here. Can you read this last sentence for me?
The engineer's Jeep was covered in seaweed. The engineer's Jeep was covered in seaweed.
Okay, what happened the first time?
Instead of seaweed, I put seaweed.
Yes, so we had a reduction on the second syllable,
Yeah.
right? And again, we don't want to reduce that E sound. I liked your adjustment. Can you say seaweed?
Seaweed.
I feel like the C is pretty good, but when we're saying weed, it tenses up. I don't know if you felt that, but try and keep them the same. Seaweed.
Seaweed.
Maybe the W is too strong. Weaken the W. Seaweed.
Seaweed.
Yeah, because it just feels like it's a weed. It kind of like takes a second to get there. Weaken the W even a little more. Seaweed.
Seaweed.
Okay. Covered in seaweed.
Covered in seaweed.
I feel like I'm hearing covered in seaweed versus covered
Yeah.
in seaweed.
Covered in seaweed.
Better. Okay. Can you say the engineers
The engineers.
don't have as much of a transition from that E to that R? Okay. Engineers.
Engineers.
The ears. These are ears versus ears. Ears.
Yeah. Ears.
Engineers.
Engineers.
Better. Slightly more voiced. So zzz. Engineers.
Engineers.
Engineers. I'm exaggerating, but that's what I want you to listen for versus engineers.
Engineers.
Yeah, I just think don't hold. There's just still shifting going on, and I don't want as much shifting. It's the ears, just ears, ears, engineers.
Engineers. Engineers.
We're really reducing that E sound. It's a ers versus ears, ears.
Ears. Ears. Ears.
Really tense high placement. I'm here ears versus ears, 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 ears.
Ears. Ears. Ears. Ears. Ears. Ears.
Ear. Can you say ear
Ear.
for me? Ear, ear, ear.
Ear. Ear. Ear.
Good. Can you do ear, ear, ears?
Ear. Ear. Ears.
Yeah, engineers.
Engineers.
That was your best one. That one right there. The engineer's Jeep.
Engineers Jeep.
Hold your E sound a little longer on Jeep. The engineer's Jeep.
Engineers Jeep.
Jeep is also probably your stress, so it's going to be your higher pitch. Engineer's Jeep.
Engineers Jeep. Engineers Jeep.
Think that J sound again. We saw this earlier.
Yeah.
I think it's causing the placement to rise on the E. So G. It's not G. It's more G. Engineer's Jeep. Engineer's Jeep.
Engineers Jeep. Engineers Jeep. Engineers
Hold your
Jeep.
vowel longer. Engineer's
En-
Jeep.
Engineers Jeep. Engineers Jeep. Engineers
Engineers.
Jeep.
But remember pitch again. This is your stress. Engineer's Jeep.
Engineers Jeep. Engineers Jeep. Engineers Jeep.
Better. The engineer's Jeep was covered in seaweed.
Engineers Jeep was covered in seaweed.
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 Yeah. Yeah, I think this is the sentence I want you to really practice. I think this is the one that will be most beneficial. All right, Emmanuel, any questions for me about the E sound here?
No, I have to like really find out what the placement, and I have to like compare it, like what's too nasally, like E, what's more mine, like middle, like EE, and the low ones. I have to just bounce between them to see to find out, because it's a sound that very easily gets tensed.
Yeah, facts. Yep, I like what you did it. So in the replay, I would encourage you to listen to those moments where I say, "Hey, we're a little tense," and things like that. But also listen to the moments where I say, "Hey, that's the sound we're looking for." I think we had those 3 sentences. I thought that second one was really good for your E sounds. So kind of listen to what you're doing there and trying to copy that. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So thanks, Emmanuel, for being with me this morning. I appreciate you.
Thanks so much.
And again, For everyone else watching, again, this is an example of our Mission English program, which meets at all of these times for 30 minutes. So if you're interested in being part of our small live sessions where people are meeting on screen with me and go over pronunciation stuff, we would love to have you. You can go to fluentamerican.com to get more information. Thanks, Emmanuel. I will see you a little later, and everyone else will see you later too. You guys have a good day, good night,
Thank
good afternoon.
you. Bye bye.
Take care. Bye.
Visit fluentamerican.com for all of our pronunciation services, including memberships, including our daily Telegram program, where you send in files every day and get corrections from us, Mission English, where we meet twice a day in live stream classes, and also our